Welcome back. It's A to Z here on Locked On Sports Atlanta, free on YouTube, wherever you get your podcast. Search Locked On Sports Atlanta. Of course, give me a follow at Mark Zinno, MarkZinno, and follow us at Locked On ATL. Don't forget to check out all of the shows here on the Locked On Atlanta platform. After A to Z, you get Hitting Harder with John Chuckery, ATL Day Ones with Jarvis Davis and Tanisha Batiste, our Braves postcast after every single Braves game, including Grant McCauley, who is part of our network as well. Locked On Hawks with Brad Rowland and Locked On Falcons with Aaron Freeman. The entire cast here is fantastic. We're building something really special here. We're glad you guys have joined along with us and certainly having a lot of fun doing it and speaking with you guys every day. And thanks for making Locked On Sports Atlanta your first listen every single day. Atlanta Falcons are going to start their rookie mini camp coming up at the end of this week. Yesterday on the show, I had mentioned that I wanted to see what Troy Anderson was all about and why they picked this inside linebacker from Montana State over some other notable names and to see what he's all about. And I think he, from everything I've read, is going to be a guy that's all about the fit for this team and this defense and what Dean Pease wants to do. Now, Dane Brugler, who writes for The Athletic, who's as good as it comes when it comes to draft coverage and scouting these college players and understanding who they are and how they're going to fit in certain teams, did two things. One, he gave out his favorite drafts and ranked them in order 1 through 32. We'll get to that in a moment. But he also looked at some of the holes that teams still need to fill given what they did in the draft. And he mentioned for the Atlanta Falcons that what the Falcons also need help is on the defensive line. And that, with Grady Jarrett, there was a chance that some people thought the Falcons in the draft would make a run at UConn's Travis Jones in the second or third round. The Falcons went other needs on their defense, and there were a lot of them. But it's one of those deals where they still need some more help up front because after Grady Jarrett, you have a lot of question marks and players who just aren't very good. You're continuing to just look at this defensive line and go, who are these guys and how are they going to be effective? So I certainly understand that being good in the trenches is super important. And not only that, that's been a weakness of this franchise for a long time. So hopefully they can start to get better there. Now, Dane Brugler ranked all of his drafts from 1 through 32, and he gave the Falcons glowing marks for his draft. In fact, ranked them eighth out of all 32 teams. And here is the quick write up. I really like what the Falcons did in the first three rounds. London and Kyle Pitts are big athletic men, will be tough to cover. Edukati gives the Falcons a legitimate pass rush threat. Anderson is raw, but a super athlete with a high ceiling. And once he develops, he says, I'm going to have to go with Ritter. The Falcons passed on the temptation to draft a quarterback in the first two rounds, but in the third round, the value is well worth the selection. And it doesn't stop the Falcons from addressing the position early in the early rounds next year if that's the best direction for the franchise. Like, oh, yeah, I've been saying that for a while. If you're going to draft a quarterback this year, guess what? You can draft one next year. Find enough Ritter can play, and if you can't, guess what? You draft another one next year. So I'm glad Dane agrees with me. I kid, but no, in all seriousness, he hits it right on the head. Ritter was a great value pick, and everybody thinks that's the best part about it. Was you waited until the third round, you didn't reach for him, and he's here. And if he can't play, guess what? You'll get another one next year. But this is the big surprise. And I thought about this, and then I read what Dane Brugler says, and it sort of confirmed what I had felt. Whether you do your weak is Tyler Allgeier. I mean, you cut Mike Davis. Cordero Patterson is not a 15 to 20 carry guy in the backfield. You already know what Kadri Allison can do, and it's not much. And you drafted this kid, and he's going to be your bell cow back as much as you have one on first and second down. He's going to go into camp as the number one running back on this team. And Brugler writes, based on the team fit and value, Allgeier to Atlanta is one of my favorite day three picks this year. Although his burst is average, he runs with an instinctive feeling, quick feet for a bigger back, and shows the passing game potential to be an every down back. Allgeier's tape is very similar to James Conner when he was coming out of Pittsburgh. I mean, that to me says it all. If you want to be a third down back in this league, you got to be able to catch the ball in the backfield because you have to be able to do both. They got to be able to put you on the field to run it, and they got to be able to put you on the field to pass it. That's how you play all three downs at running back in the NFL. And this kid, by all accounts and everything we've read, and again, did not watch a ton of BYU football. I did while they were undefeated. Then they lost a couple of games and I stopped watching because I didn't care. But nonetheless, Tyler Algier is a guy that's going to walk into camp getting the lion's share of the carries, and there's no reason he shouldn't. I mean, this is not a very adept run game at this point in time. This is not a team that's going to be, or at least can be, run heavy unless they get some production out of the offensive line. And so, if you're going to take Tyler Algier and do anything with him, stick him in there immediately, give him 12 to 15, 18 carries a game, and just see what the hell happens. Running backs are disposable all around. And is anybody really going to be that sore if a day 3 draft pick running back doesn't work out? I mean, there will be people who will look back on it and go, "Oh, you're stupid, wasted a pick." Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I get it, but it's just there's no one's taking running backs in the first 2 rounds anymore unless they are roster changing, franchise changing type running backs. Guess what? The Giants took Saquon Barkley second overall. What has he done for them? Nothing. So it's just not what teams are doing anymore because they know they can find production elsewhere in the draft when it comes to running back and the position of running back. And so if you get the blocking up front, a lot of guys can be substituted. But I think Algier, and no one's really saying this yet, but what's the reason he's not going to be the number one running back on this team heading into training camp and the regular season? My guess is, as a betting man, that when you see the Falcons week 1 lineup and it flashes up on the screen and they list all the starters after quarterback, right next to Marcus Mariota in week 1, maybe Desmond Ritter, right there in block 2, you're going to see running back Tyler Algier. He's going to be your week 1 starter. There's nothing right now to support that he won't be. I mean, theoretically, I suppose Cordero Patterson could be the guy that's actually starting the game. But somebody tell me why Kadri Allison deserves more carries at this point in time than Tyler Algier does. What has been proven? I mean, if you look at the Falcons roster and the running backs that are on it, there's a bunch of no names. And Algier may be the most accomplished one out of all of them coming out of college. Like, that's really what it boils down to. Does Damian Williams excite you? No. Caleb Huntley excite you? No. It's Tyler Algier all the way. So there's no reason to believe that he won't be the number one running back on this team when they start the games in week 1. If somebody sees something different, I'd love to hear it because I haven't seen it yet at all. And that's where the Falcons are. And I think that's a name that we're going to continue to see develop. And fantasy nerds who love to play fantasy football, watch out because that may be a guy worth drafting in the late rounds because he is going to be the number one back on the team and a starter. Just my guess. All right, we got more to do here on A to Z on Locked On Sports Atlanta. Again, make sure you check out all the shows here. We're going to wrap things up next. Stay with me. It is A to Z right here on Locked On Sports Atlanta, free on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure you search Locked On Sports Atlanta.